consideration of the press conference. And each speaker knows when to come up. I'm just going to introduce the first speaker. The first speaker is going to be Dr. Melina Abdullah, MLINA, AEP, LLA, and after the second Department of Cal State professor, one of the organizers of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. So let me just say, I am not speaking in capacity as a professor at Cal State. I'm speaking as an organizer with Black Lives Matter. I want to make that very clear. I want to first say thank you to the community who helped us to get this meeting. You know, on Tuesday, LAPD was saying that that it's probably not going to happen. We probably wouldn't get a meeting with Chief Beck, and then just a couple days later, we get a meeting with Chief Beck, and that's because of our community support. The support of all the people here, the people in the community, the people pressured from all sides, and so we appreciate having that, and we should claim that as a victory. I just want to quickly report on what happened inside, or a piece of what happened inside. We went in with a 2-item agenda. First, to talk about the disciplinary action that we want to take in against Officers Charlton Wampler and Antonio Villegas, who killed Ezel Ford on August 11th. So it's been 5 months since Ezel Ford's killing, and those officers are still working. They're actively working as police officers assigned to death duty. That means they are on taxpayers' dime. They are on the city payroll, and we are paying them. So we asked the chief of police to remove them from duty. He refused. He cited this long bureaucratic process, and basically said that we're looking at a timeline of March or April where it's possible that he may engage in disciplinary action. We know he is capable of doing more. We know that he's able to do more, and he's kind of hiding behind these stacks and stacks of paper, referring to legal counsel and talking about things that really don't concern us. As a community, we know the city charter says that the chief of police has the responsibility to both appoint and discharge his personnel. And so we want him to do that job. He is not committed to do so. And those officers, Wampler and Villegas, are still on duty. And so that means that as a community, we need to think about what power we have to push back and make sure that they understand that we won't let that happen and be silent in that. We also, I think what it amplifies is that this is about Ezel Ford because he is Tritobia Ford's son. He was a person. He is a soul, a spirit that if we're lost to this earth, so we want to definitely acknowledge the individuality of that man as a person. But we also want to connect that with a national trend that's happening where Black lives are being taken out with impunity by those who are supposed to protect and serve us. And so we will continue to move forward. And Los Angeles has an opportunity through community pressure to set a model for the kind of public safety system that we want, one that actually protects all communities, including Black communities, and elevates this idea that should be core to who we are as human beings, that Black lives matter. That should not be a radical statement. That should simply be a truth. But what we're seeing is that unless we create pressure and continue to elevate our voices and make our voices heard and come down here to occupy LAPD, which will stand until our demands are met. Unless we do that, then they're going to continue to trample on our very humanity. And so we say that Black Lives Matter, and we will pressure them until they know it.
I'm Bobby Tammy Bryan, a member of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. So we went in today also to really concerned and really focus on the ways that police have been engaging us as we're outside here, holding space, having our voices amplified around our lives as Black folks, right? We wanted to talk to LAPD, we wanted to hear from them around how they've been engaging with us. We've had police officers come out in large numbers this past week. We've had police officers who have their power walk off the street every morning and push and force us to move our property off the street as well. So we, in the conversation, we wanted to share with LAPD that they haven't been engaging in what they've been calling community policing, and we wanted to let them know some of the ways that they haven't been engaging in community policing and asking them to be in conversation, to actually hear from the community. That's what community policing would look like, right? We have an agreement from Chief Basinger to be in dialogue with us, to have officers not doing things that are that could be read as intimidation tactics. So we have a commitment from Chief Basinger to have the officers who are out here on the front lines actually obeying and following the law, rather than using miscellaneous municipal codes to try and intimidate us, saying that we might get infractions and citations or arrested. So we have that agreement. We'll keep pushing for it. We'll see how it shows up. But right now we have that agreement from Chief Basinger.
Could you spell your name for me?
So it's Pobi, P-O-B-I-Tamu, Bryant, B-R-Y-A-N-T.
What the Los Angeles Community Action Network and Black Lives Matter. We're clear, and we were clear inside with Chief Beck and Chief Basinger, that Ezell Ford murder is not an aberration. That it is a continuation of a sordid history of the way the LAPD polices Black communities. We reminded them of the Stephen Eugene Washington case, where another Black male, 27 years old, autistic, was approached by two gang officers and shot dead in the head by one officer as he sat in the seat. Again, Mr. Eugene Washington was unarmed and simply walking down the street. We are saying that we are going to put an end to business as usual. We are saying that we are not leaving. We're going to stay on these sidewalks in different types of ways. We're going to join other folks across the country in demanding that Black Lives Matter. That no matter what you say about your bureaucratic process, the outcomes have been very toxic in our communities. We are not leaving. Black Lives Matter. We will continue this fight. We will continue to hold our hands high and continue to push forward. Thank you.
Your name, everybody is equal.
Pete,
Everybody
White.
is equal.
Good morning. My name is Nana Jumpy. First name N-A-N-A. Last name G-Y-A-M-F-I. I'm an attorney with the Crenshaw Legal Clinic, Human Rights Advocacy, and also legal counsel for Black Lives Matter, and a member of Black Lives Matter as well. The point that we wanted to make, or one of the points we wanted to make with the chief, with LAPD today, was that we were not going to have any more disingenuous legal talk. That you can no longer come and tell us about a process that prevents you from doing the right thing and think that you're speaking with people that don't know what the truth is. The truth is this process can go faster. The truth is that there are multiple acts of misconduct here. The truth is that this process, which they claim is a result of concerns for the community, does not serve the community, has yet to serve the community. That it is a process designed to appear to serve the community when in fact it serves the police. It serves the police when it takes almost a year or more to make a decision about whether this was a shooting that should have happened or should not have happened. It serves the police when it takes a year or more to determine whether or not there has been misconduct. And as a community, we have to know that we have to push and press to crack through that sheer veneer of everything being legal and going according to the law, because it never does. As an attorney who's done many police misconduct cases, both on the criminal and civil end, I can say safely and securely that the police chief, that LAPD, when they say there is nothing they can do, that their hands are tied, and that there's no discipline, including administrative leave without pay, that could not happen based on what has occurred, the difference between the officer's statements and what was given to all of us in terms of what happened and what it says with the autopsy, a shot in the back with a muzzle imprint is close range. There's no way to say that nothing happened, even if it's just giving misleading statements. And so we call on LAPD and the chief to engage in that discipline process immediately, to push forward with all due speed and to stop playing.
Hello everyone, I'm Shamel Bell, S-H-A-M-E-L-L, and I'm speaking to
been here since the first day, and I've seen the intimidation tactics. I've seen my brother and her sister be arrested. I was there as our children screamed, as Shay's children screamed, Shay's son screamed. I'm sorry. And to see that, and to know that my son, at 4 years old, is a black male, and he could be gunned down by a police officer. She's only 7 years old. So it could be my son that could do that. So I'm here as a mother to stand up for Black lives, to stand up for my son, and to also show our resiliency. We've been here every night. I'm a PhD student. So during my break, I was here. I didn't even sleep. I stayed up and watched. If I had to go to school when school started, I came back right after a 9 a.m. to 6 o'clock class. And I came back because I want to show them that we are resilient and that we are persistent and we are calling back from all the strength of our ancestors, and we will be here until our demands are met. We are not going to leave. And why are we not leaving? Because our children are dying. These police officers are looking at us and we're dying. We're appealing to them and we're appealing to empathy that they do not have. So we will be here. We will be here until our demands are met. He's saying that he will not file charges. He cannot immediately discharge these officers, but we will be here because our resilience and our persistence has us here, and we will get these met. Sure. As soon as, yeah, we'll be real quick. My name is Rosa Clemente, ROSACLEMENT. I'm a longtime community activist, an organizer, and a professor as well at Cal State University, LA, in the Pan-African Studies Department. Let me just let the media know to put this in a larger context. Every 28 hours in the United States of America, according to a report by the Malcolm X grassroots movement, an African American woman, man, or child is killed by law enforcement, vigilantes, or security guards. We put out that report in 2014 as we seek to update the report and unfortunately have to add a litany of over 200 more names, including Latino brothers and sisters like Omar Abrego, who we will not forget because all Black lives matter. We need people to understand this is not only a nationwide movement around police brutality, this is about the humanity of the majority of the people that reside in this world. So whether we're in LA or Puerto Rico or Brazil or France or wherever, we are being subjected to state and police violence. Black Lives Matter is not a moment, it is a growing movement of racial and social justice within a context of trying to break down white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism. And that's why Black Lives Matter. Here, every day.
No more Nazis. No more Nazis. Nazis, go home.
Hey everybody, I'm coming to you at just a member of, I'm Jasmine Richards. I'm coming to you as a member of Black Lives Matter, Los Angeles and Pasadena. I'm here because I'm questioning people's humanity. Because like she was saying, you guys, I made these posters so you guys can see the faces. If you can't empathize with the faces and be like, okay, what if that was my child? Then something's up with that. Something's really going on with the humanity. And but this is not a moment, it's a movement. What that means is that this is for the long run. This is no longer a game. This is no longer that. We're not going about everyday business as no business as usual. And I'm getting emotional because it's sad that we gotta do this. That we have to sit out here and sleep on the street to tell you guys that our lives matter. Why is that? Why do we have to chant Black Lives Matter? And when we chant it, why does everybody say all lives matter? We know that. We know everybody else's lives matter. But when can we get some justice for our lives? You feel me? So when everybody say all lives matter, yes, your life matters. We know McCullough's life matters. We know Darren Wilson's life matters. CNN paid him $1 million, right? To do a statement, to do an interview, you know? Obama gave friends a condolence letter before he sent Michael Brown's mama a condolence letter. So that show you how our lives mean nothing. So until they get it, we gonna be here.
So we're thankful that we had the meeting. We count that as a win that we had the meeting. Just 3 days ago, they said that no meeting would happen. So we're thankful that we had it. We have been promised that we'll be treated more respectfully, and that hopefully we won't be arrested trying to access public facilities anymore. But we haven't been promised that. We're hopeful that that'll be the turn things take. We are hoping that the other folks who are in the room are capable of crafting a bigger vision for Los Angeles. Police are going to be police. And so Chief Beck is a police officer. And so he ran a police officer. Gave us a lot of bureaucratic conversation about how this has to go through that process. We communicated that we're very smart people. We've already researched that process. But that's the bulk of what we got. We're hopeful that the treatment that we get is we continue to demonstrate, which, as my comrades have said, we will be here. We will continue to demonstrate. We're hopeful that our First Amendment rights will be protected. And that police won't be so that's, I think, what we look for from them. From us, our resolve should be strengthened to continue to work to make sure that Black Lives Matter, my feeling is that they still don't get it.
Did Chief Beck make any requests from you? Did he ask anything from you?
The second item was the treatment of demonstrators. So that's just what I conveyed, that we've been given a contact person. So Chief Pasinger is supposed to be working with us to make sure that we're codes that have been overturned aren't cited, that people aren't threatened with arrest for having more than one bottle of water at a time, that children aren't forced to sit on the ground because they're not allowed to use the restroom, that, those kinds of things don't happen. We don't know that will happen, but that's our hope. So we'll be in conversation.
Did he make any requests of you? Did he ask you anything?
I feel like you say kind of getting some bureaucratic speak. Do you feel the chief was being disingenuous?
Well, I think he wasn't going as far as a courageous chief could go, because we know he can go further. And I'll ask Nana to come up and join, because she was in leading part of that conversation. Go ahead. Well, let her respond.
Yes. And I think your question, if I am hearing it correctly, is whether or not the chief seemed to be disingenuous. And I'll respond this way. He described a process that focused on whether or not the shooting was within or outside of policy. That is not, and I repeat, not the only issue. When I began to point out, or we began to point out that, hey, what about the disciplinary process? Apart from what you got to do with the police commission and everything else, that's when all of a sudden the answers could not be as forthright. And as Dr. Abdullah was indicating, the courage that we would expect of a police chief of such a large organization in such a important city as Los Angeles seemed to disappear and not be there. And there was a lot of mush mouth and try to refocus on what we already understood, instead of giving us what you're going to do. That's what we didn't hear. What you're going, not what you're not going to do, not what you can't do, but what are you going to do? And basically, we got nothing. Chief Beck is going to do nothing. That is what he indicated.
Did he ask you to do anything? Like leave the premises or anything? Did he ask you anything?
He didn't ask. He did not ask for anyone to leave the premises. He, from my recollection, he basically the only request that I really remember was try to be nice to the officers, because officers can't be nice to you if you guys are not nice to them. And we have to point out that there's one set of professionals here, which is the police, that firstly, people have not been rude or mean or obnoxious to officers. I myself had at least 3 occasions when I wanted to go straight a sons of warrior on people and did not, acted professionally and courteously, and the officers did not seem to be able to respond in kind. And so we reiterated that we expect the officers to follow the law. We expect them to be professionals, not out of courtesy to us, but because that's what we are paying them to do.
How did you wrap up the meeting? Did the chief promise there would be a follow-up, or what's the next step?
So the next step for us is continue to engage with Chief Kiesinger around police engagement in the community as we're out here to continue to show up, and the police will continue their investigative process, and unless something interesting comes up, we're likely to hear about where the investigation is landing in March or April. That's what we were told. That's where we left it.
So they said that it's still ongoing?
The investigation is still ongoing. They're in the midst of their process.
So no follow-up meeting with the chief?
We'll be meeting with Chief Kiesinger, but not with, and only around police engagement with the community as we're out here, not with the chief.
And then who else was at the meeting besides you four and the chief?
So the 4 of us, Attorney John P. Donna Johnson was there, Bobby Tenney, Brian White, and myself were representing Black Lives Matter, and then there were a host of police officers who asked them their names, Chief Beck, Chief Kiesinger, and I don't remember all of the other folks around the table. Councilman Herb Wesson was there, our city council president here, and kind of acted as a facilitator of the conversation along with him.
Bottom line, was it worth it? Did you accomplish something today?
Yes, I think it was worth it. I think it shows us that nothing less our own power. That it is through the demonstration, through the engagement of the community, through the refusal of the community to go by and just let this pass as another shooting that we don't respond to, that we even got the meeting. And so I think that this presence here, this presence in front, is a constant reminder to everyone that we cannot sit by. It's our duty to fight for freedom. It's our duty to win. And we will be here until we win. We will win justice for Ezell Gordon. We will win justice for Ayanna Jones, Kendrick McDade, for Omar Abrego, for all of those lives who were unjustly gunned down by those who are supposed to protect and serve us. And we will also win a system of public safety that works for us. And that's our vision. Our vision beyond this is building a world that works for us, that elevates the truth that Black Lives Matter and that humanity must be protected.
But what does winning mean?
Winning means ushering in a new vision of the world. Winning means making sure that the world is truly safe, that we don't live in a world where we have as much fear. My 4-year-old son is more afraid of police officers than he is gang members, right? We want a world that's different, where at 4 years old, this idea of an officer friendly can be true for Black boys, right? That's the kind of world that we want. We want the kind of world where communities work with police, where police work with communities. We can envision new kinds of things. We can envision demilitarization. We can envision the end of spying on communities. We can envision a system where there's an economic structure that supports communities so they don't have to commit crimes and violence, right? We can envision all kinds of things. So a win means all of that, and an immediate win means the firing of Villegas and Wampler and murder charges against them.
How about Chief Beck? Can your vision happen under Chief Beck?
Recall.
Yeah, I think that the community needs to have a conversation about that, and Chief Beck needs to think about what kind of police chief he wants to be. Does he want to be a courageous one, or does he want to be one who just ushers in a police state?
You want to get recall.
Spell your name for it.
My name? Yeah. Melina, last name is A, E as in boy, E as in David, LLAPD.
Thank you. How long have you guys been out here?
Since December 3rd.
About how many people on average?
At our peak each day we have about 100 people. And on the weekends, I think last weekend we had about 300 Sunday.
So throughout the day, you'll have people coming going
It
out
can
about
go small, big. Some during the day we all have other jobs, so we always have a presence, so that constant presence is involved. So you may have 5 people, you may have 100.